what's the one thing you can do to stand out in your degree apprenticeship applications? What's the one thing you can do to secure that offer, get into a degree apprenticeship, and start it in September? That's the question I hear so many people asking. Like, what's the one thing I can do to stand out? What's that sort of magic bullet that I can use to get into these degree apprenticeships? And just a bit of context, the other day I was on this sort of Q&A call with Olamide. So essentially, Olamide is one of my students from last year, essentially, who was part of my sort of school community. That's the school, that's the cap I sort of wear. School is like the platform, it's where we host this community to help people get into degree apprenticeships. He was part of my community last year, and I helped him out, and he got offers from HSBC and Deutsche Bank. So I sort of invited him back for sort of interview. I did it with him over the weekend, and asked him a bunch of questions about sort of life as an apprentice, in particular a lot of stuff from the HSBC and Deutsche Bank application processes and how to make sure you're optimizing your application there, and also just more general stuff about how to get into degree apprenticeship. So it was supposed to be like an hour interview that I was doing with him, and we were going to mainly cover these three things here: life as an apprentice, and then cover specifically on HSBC and Deutsche Bank. But then sort of around like the sort of 45 minute mark, something along those lines, maybe even 35-minute mark, about like half the way into the sort of interview, we sort of got onto the topic of just generally how to get into degree apprenticeships. Right, and as I said, this was supposed to be an hour interview, and you can see here, it lasted a whole hour and a half. Because basically, we just ended up talking for ages about getting into these degree apprenticeships and what it takes. What does it take to get into a degree apprenticeship? And sort of the consensus we were coming to is, it takes a lot. A lot of people, I'll just be honest, they hear about the degree apprenticeship package, okay? So maybe all they knew about previously was university. Maybe that's the only thing they'd heard of. And then they come and find out about degree apprenticeships, okay? And they're like, whoa, degree apprenticeship, work experience, no debt, salary, this seems like the perfect option. So like, degree apprenticeships, I want to go and do a degree apprenticeship. Okay, fair enough. They set their sights on a degree apprenticeship, and then they sort of like, yep, I'm going to do a degree apprenticeship, my life's sorted now. And then they don't really do anything to get that degree apprenticeship. They just apply, they just do what they need to do, go through the motions, and they end up getting rejected. And I go on calls with people, I've been speaking to people who've had this situation. They found out about degree apprenticeships last year. They went and applied to them. They didn't get any offers because they didn't take it seriously enough, because they didn't try hard enough. Because essentially, if we just break it down, they thought it was easier than they thought it was going to be. They thought it was, how do I phrase that? They thought it was going to be easy. Essentially, they thought it was degree apprenticeship. I want to do one. Boom, I've done one. Boom, I'm starting a degree apprenticeship. And that is where this question comes from when people are sort of asking, okay, how do I get into degree apprenticeship? What's sort of the one thing I do? What's the one thing I do in my interviews? Right, what's the one thing I can put on my CV? And when I was having this discussion with Olamide, the sort of the truth is there's no one thing. It's not one magic bullet. It's like, it's 1,000 silver bullets that you need to do. There's lots of things. And the key thing is practice. The key thing is practice. This interview, I think at some point over the next week or next couple of days, I'll sort of release more sort of footage from this interview so you can sort of actually see our discussion that we were having. But it's not, oh, how can I do this one thing on my LinkedIn? How can I do this one thing in my CV? Oh, what's this one super sick interview question that I could ask people? Like I could ask the interviewer at the end and it's going to make me seem really sort of dedicated. It's like, yeah, all those three things are good, but you need your foundation, and the foundation's practice. The foundation is practice. So Olamide was talking to me. He said before one of his assessment centres, I believe it was HSBC Assessment Centre, 3 days in a row, he spent 8 hours practicing his interviews. 3 days in a row, 8 hours. That's 24 hours he spent practicing his interview and his assessment centre for HSBC. Okay, and he got in. He got into HSBC, he got into Deutsche Bank, and he's now an investment banking degree apprentice. Okay, and you have to understand that that is your competition. Okay, I want this video to be a sort of wake-up call for some of you. Some of you, honestly, you're going to be listening to this video and being like, yeah, I know that, I'm aware of that, right? Other people are going to be watching this video, and this is going to be a bit of a wake-up call. You need to understand degree apprenticeships are competitive. Okay, I come from a sort of sporting background, so I've done swimming. That's been my main sport. So like this hoodie, you can see it's a Speedo, because it's like a swimming hoodie. Speedo's like the brand, they do like swimming shorts and all that sort of thing, right? So I come from a competitive background. I've been in races, and I've been beaten by 100th of a second before. 0.01 second, I've been beaten to first place by 100th of a second before. You might have seen in the Olympics over the summer, Adam Peaty lost his 100-metre breaststroke Olympic final by, I think it was 100th of a second. I've been in that exact situation. Similarly, I've been in races, and I've won a race by 100th of a second. I've got a gold medal at a sort of county championships by 100th of a second. I've been on both ends of it. And in a sport from swimming, a sport such as swimming, what you learn is, you learn about this competition. you learn how ruthless it is. If people are training more than you, they're going to beat you. If you're not training hard enough, you're going to get beaten. It's not a case of, oh, okay, I want to go and get a gold medal. Boom, you just walk up to the race, you dive in and you swim and you get a gold medal. No. It's a lot more work than that. It's like weeks of preparation. It's months of preparation. It's diet. It's sleep. It's making sure you're stretching. It's making sure you're doing the right technique and you're putting the effort in and all this stuff. You're missing things to make sure you can go to training. That's how you get a gold medal at county championships. That's how you do it. You don't get it just by saying, yep, I'm going to turn up on the day and go and get a gold medal. It's not as simple as that. Because in the final, when there's 8 people there going for the gold medal, those other 7 people guaranteed they've been training properly. To be honest, you wouldn't even get into the final if you hadn't been sort of training properly, you hadn't been dedicated. But let's say you get to the final. When there's 7 other people on that starting block with you, and they've been training hard, they've been sacrificing things for the past 6 weeks, for the past 8 weeks, for the past 12 weeks, for the past 6 months, right? They're going to destroy you. Any sport, whatever sport it is that you do or you watch, it's like those are the athletes who, they don't eat junk food, they get their sleep, they turn up to training, they don't go to all these social occasions, they go to training instead. Now, how does this relate to degree apprenticeships? Because obviously not all of you are going to be athletes, but that's the same mindset you need to have. Like, at the end of the day, getting a degree apprenticeship is kind of a competition. You are against people and you have to beat them. It's as simple as that. So you have to think, if my competition is doing X practice, like X many hours of practice, you need to match that or do better than that. And I'll just tell you, if you want to get into a degree apprenticeship, there's people like Olamide, there's people like me, for example, back in the day, who we're just going to crush you because of the amount of hours that we've put in. It's not a case of, let's say you can get to an assessment centre. You can just about blag getting into an assessment centre. Okay, fine, you've got to an assessment centre. But once you get to the assessment centre and you go in and you haven't done any practice, you haven't even done 30 minutes practice, you haven't done an hour practice, whatever, you're going to get crushed by Olamide, who's doing 24 hours of practice. You're going to get crushed by me, who's done many hours of practice beforehand, many hours of preparation. You're just going to get crushed. Because you go into this assessment centre, maybe there's, 8 people in the assessment centre, maybe there's 10, maybe there's 12, whatever. And it's like, maybe 20% get the job, 30% get the job. Maybe if you're in a group task and there's 5 of you in the group task, maybe 1 of you gets the job, maybe 2 of you gets the job. Do you really think with little or no preparation, you're going to be that one person who gets the job? Do you really think with little or no preparation, you think you're the top 1% candidate in the country? Like, ask yourself this question. If you talk to me right now and be like, Owen, I'll just be honest with you. If I didn't prepare for any interviews, like I didn't do any preparation, I still think I'm the top 1% person in the world. Okay, fair enough. You know what? If that's what you think, then fair enough. Go into assessment centers. Can't speak. Go into assessment centers with no preparation, and maybe you'll be fine. Maybe you're right. Like, I'm not telling you right now, for example, that that's not going to happen. All I'm saying is you better make sure it's correct. Because if you go into an assessment center with no preparation because you think you're good enough, you better back up that claim and you better go and get that offer. But what I'd say is, for most people in general, you're going to need that preparation. You're going to need that practice. Because without it, there's people who've done hours more practice than you. If you think you can go in there and it's the first ever interview you've ever done, and you can get the job, there's people there who've done 20 interviews, 30 interviews. If you are nervous going to this sort of interview and assessment centre because you've never done one before, you've never done any practice, you haven't even prepared for it, you have to understand there's going to be other people there who are looking forward for that assessment centre. Because they've done so much practice, they are literally looking forward to going and jumping in. Okay, what's the purpose of this whole video? Okay, because this video, I haven't really planned anything, I haven't really scripted anything. Top 5 interview tips, that's not really what this video is. This video is just sort of a message. Okay, just a message to you, just to remember how competitive these are. This is sort of just a sort of reset, just a reset, okay? With these degree apprenticeships, they are competitive, okay? Top 5%, top 3%, top 2%, those are the kind of people getting jobs. Going into the finance industry, it's less than top 1%. So you have to think about that and adjust accordingly, okay? If you want to beat 99% of people, you have to do the work that 99% of people aren't prepared to do. Okay, if I want to go and do well in a sport, I want to win a race, win a swimming race, whatever it is, I have to go and do the work that 99% of people aren't prepared to make. I have to make the sacrifices that 99% of people aren't prepared to make. If you don't sacrifice for your goals become the sacrifice. Okay? So it's like I'll sacrifice eating junk food, going to like social occasions or something. I'll sacrifice that so that I can go and train properly for swimming. So that I can go and then go into a competition, I've trained properly, my diet's on point, I can go and win that race. I'll sacrifice that. Because the other alternative is I miss training all the time and I barely go to training and I just go to like social events or whatever. I eat junk food, bad diet, poor sleep, all this sort of stuff. I can go and do that, sure, but then I've sacrificed my goal of doing well in swimming, getting medals, whatever it is. So it's the same with degree apprenticeships. If you're not prepared to make that sacrifice, if you're not prepared to put in the work, if you're not prepared to sort of work evenings, weekends, actually practicing, doing extra stuff, then probably just don't bother. Yeah, and this might seem weird, but I'll just be honest with you. I think if you're not going to bother to put in the preparation and the practice necessary for these degree apprenticeships, then you might as well not bother. Because here's the thing, you can, let's say in an assessment centre, you come in with 1 hour practice case, you do 1 hour practice, fair enough, you dedicate 1 hour, you go and practice it. You're going against someone who's done 20 hours of practice, 24 hours of practice, they're going to beat you, end of story, simple as that, okay? Therefore, you might as well have just not done the 1 hour, like you've just wasted your time on the 1 hour, right? It's like, say you do 3 hours practice, or you go through the whole application process and you do like 3 hours practice. Again, there's someone there who's done 20 hours of practice who's going to beat you. So it's like you might as well have saved yourself the hassle and not done the 3 hours. It's like there's no point going through the whole application process. Degree apprenticeship application processes are a mess. They're annoying. None of it's organised. Takes up a lot of your time. A lot of you have A-levels at the same time. You don't want to go through that whole application process only to then fail at the assessment centre and not get an offer because you couldn't be bothered to do the last step, which was let's properly prepare for an assessment centre and properly prepare for a presentation and properly prepare for an interview. There's no point, because now you've just wasted 1, 2, 3 months of your life for no results because you don't get an offer. And now it's like, if you could go back in time, you might as well have just gone back to November, December and just not even bothered with degree apprenticeships and just saved yourself the hassle. It's like, I would personally say, with degree apprenticeships, do all or nothing. Okay? If you genuinely want a degree apprenticeship, you got to lock in and commit yourself to it. Because that's what's needed to beat these other candidates. To beat 99% of candidates, you have to do what 99% of people aren't prepared to do. And if you're prepared to do that 1%, well, you're going to get the 1% of results that most people don't get. Okay, all or nothing. So if you're ready to go all in, go all in. If you want a degree apprenticeship, kind of, but you don't want to put in the work, save yourself the hassle, man. Honestly, save yourself the hassle. You'd have more of a fun time, and you'd have more spare time to go and do your other stuff, whatever it is you want to do. You'd have more time to do that if you just didn't go with degree apprenticeship at all and you sort of just did UCAS. Like, UCAS is pretty simple. Write your personal statement, honestly, just lock in for 3 hours. 3 hour session, no phone, no notifications, no music, none of this rubbish, okay? Just lock in, you can get that drafted up in 3 or 4 hours. Go get someone to check it, make the changes. But once you've got the draft there, that's the main thing. You can do that in 3 hours, okay? Just go and do that, man. Honestly, just go and submit your personal statement. Go to university and just chill out. That's if you don't want to put the work in for a degree apprenticeship, okay? And by the way, feel free to disagree with me. Honestly, this is just my opinion, by the way. Like, this isn't gospel truth or anything like that. This is just my personal opinion. The way I see it with these degree apprenticeships is they're a lot of work. They're very competitive. Like, you can argue with me. Maybe if you don't think they're competitive, feel free to put it in the comments. But this is the way I see it. They're competitive. If you want to beat people, you need to put more work in. And if you're not prepared to put in all that work, then just don't put any in. Okay, as I said, love to see some discussions in the comments. If anyone's disagreeing with me, feel free, man. I'd love to have that sort of open dialogue, see if maybe you disagree with me on something here. But it's like, for these assessment centres, I'd be practicing interview questions over and over again. You have to practice them like a psycho. Okay, the normal person, you've got an interview coming up, one common question is like, why would you like to apply for this role? Okay, I'll prepare that question. Boom, I've scripted out. Cool, let's go. You then get into the interview, and you haven't actually practiced it. So you might have it written down on a piece of paper, and you sort of try and follow that piece of paper in your interview, but you don't really get it right, and you know what I mean? It's not very good. Or it's like, you prepare that question, why would you like to apply for this role? You sort of script out your answer, and then you practice delivering that answer, okay? And then you practice again, and then you do it again. And then do it again, and then do it again. And so you do it 5 times in a row, 10 times in a row. And that's how many times you do it in a row. After, like, over and over again. Until when that question comes up, it's the easiest thing you've ever done. That's how you beat the other candidates. It's like, yeah, we can say these cute things like put this thing on your CV. Okay, LinkedIn, start making posts. It's like, yeah, sure, that those are going to help you, but only when you have the fundamentals of practice. Because you can have the best LinkedIn, the best CV, and I don't know, the best handshake in the world, right? But if you haven't practiced the interview questions and you don't know what you're doing, you're not going to get the job. So you want to start off with that foundation, start off with those fundamentals, and that fundamentals is practice. I'll give you an example. I had a university presentation, which I had to do in, I don't know, May, something like that, right? It's basically you had to create this presentation. It's like a 5-minute presentation, something like that, and you have to deliver it in front of the class to everyone. Okay, cool. So I made my presentation, and it had to be 5 minutes in length, and I wanted to make it 5 minutes. So here's what I did. I wanted to have a good delivery, and I wanted to do it in 5 minutes. That's the two criteria I was looking for. So I made the whole presentation, then I practiced it, and it was a certain length. I don't know how long it was. I don't have the figures on me now, but like let's say it was 7 minutes, right? So I practiced it again, and I practiced it again. Okay, it's like 6 minutes 30 now. Okay. Oh, when I just practiced it, then I stumbled on a bit here. Let me practice it again. So I practiced it again and again and again and again and again. And I think I was genuinely sat in this room. This was like during a work day, right? I was sat in like a meeting room doing this. I think I must have done the presentation about 10 times, 10 or 15 times in a row, back to back. Back to back. Do the whole presentation, boom, make a note of the time. Okay, where did I mess up? Fair enough. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. And that meant when I went into that presentation, number one, my timing was on point, and this is important for degree apprenticeship ones because when you do a presentation, your timing needs to be absolutely on point. I could literally get 5 minutes, like I could do it 3 times in a row and get 5 minutes on the dot every single time because I'd practiced it so many times. Some people who were just talking for ages, 9 minutes. Some people 2 minutes, right? I could get it on 5 minutes on the dot because I'd practiced it so many times. And number two, the delivery was easy. People forgetting what they're saying, reading from a script. I don't need a script. I don't need any of this stuff. Because I've done the presentation so many times, I just know it like the back of my hand. I mean, I don't understand that phrase because what's that? I won't even get into that. But I knew how to do this presentation because I'd done it 10 to 15 times back to back, and then like the day of 3 times back to back. It's the same thing I do with when I was applying to degree apprenticeships to the actual assessment centre presentations. When I'm making it, just do it 10 times back to back until you got it perfect. The morning of, do it 3 times back to back. And it's that preparation that's going to stick you in front of everyone else. That's going to get you the job. Everyone else who sort of wakes up on the morning of their assessment centre, they log in, they go and do their presentation. It was a bit ropey. But if you've already done it 3 times back to back in a row in the morning of, like you woke up an hour early, half an hour early, 2 hours early, there you go. All my assessment centres I'd be waking up early for, because I'd do the presentation back to back. I'd have a think about the common questions, then also I'd do detailed research. So I'd also research through the company, the industry, loads of stuff. I'd do that before. A lot of people wouldn't bother with that. It's about those extra sort of things you do to go above and beyond. Okay. Have a think about that, okay? Have a think about what I've said. Have a think about how competitive degree apprenticeships are. And just ask yourself the question, am I doing enough work? Am I working hard enough? Let me just go into one more thing, okay? A question you want to ask yourself is, do you deserve to get into a degree apprenticeship? This is like a question where you have to be brutally honest with yourself. Okay, brutally honest. Do I deserve to get into a degree apprenticeship? It's with anything in life. Do I deserve an A star in my exam? Do I deserve to be a millionaire? Do I deserve to win this swimming race? Do I deserve to be able to bench press 120 kilograms? You'll know the answer. Because if the answer is yes, you're going to get the result. For example, if I'd asked this question to myself when I was going through the application process, I'll be honest, did I deserve to get a degree apprenticeship? Yes. Because I'd put the work in. As a matter of fact, I got 8 degree apprenticeship offers. Did I deserve to get 8 degree apprenticeship offers? Absolutely. Because I'd actually put the work in. If I hadn't put the work in, like I hadn't practiced for interviews and presentations and that sort of stuff, and I asked myself that question, do I actually deserve it? No. Would I hire myself? No. If you're thinking about those questions and you're answering them with a no, then it's like you're probably not going to get the job. So that's sort of your actionable step. That's the thing I want to leave you with then. We'll leave it there for today. Ask yourself your question. Do you deserve to get into a degree apprenticeship? Be brutally honest with yourself. Do you deserve to get in? If you do, fair enough. If you think genuinely, I deserve it, I've put in the work, I think I deserve it, then fair enough. Maybe you're doing enough. But if you're listening to this now and you're like, yeah, oh, and now that you mention it, I'm just thinking about it. I probably don't even deserve a degree apprenticeship. Like I've barely done anything. Like I should be doing more. Like I'm not really practicing interviews. I've got like a 2 or 3 out of 10 confidence in interviews. If it's a no, then maybe you need to start changing things. Whether that's doing more research, whether that's it's probably just investing more time. Honestly, it's just, you don't do anything now. Well, you need to start like an hour every day focused on your applications, an hour a day focused on your interviews, 4 hours at the weekend focused, like whatever it is. Okay, you know the answer, yes or no. If it's no, do something about it. Okay, we'll leave this video here. Hope it's been valuable from like a mindset perspective, and hopefully it's just sort of reset your expectation for this application process. If you do want my sort of one-to-one help with your applications, then you can click the link in the description. You can book a call with me and we'll sort of see how I'd be able to help you on your journey to get into a degree apprenticeship. So thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.